Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the second episode of the Hot Takes and Bad Takes podcast. Today we're gonna go over all the new Awaken cards. That's how we call it, right? I forgot. Well, the Darkin Saga
Probably.
shit. It's probably Awaken, I think.
It's
Well, yeah.
the Dark
Yeah,
Awakening.
Okay, so I'm gonna go over Kanye real quick, and then Mr. Snow is gonna give us his opinion on Kanye. But I'm gonna start with Kanye from the bottom. Okay, I think Kanye in general is probably the best champion this expansion. I think Kanye is pretty flexible. I think you're playing with Zoe, as we have seen today. What Am I made a deck, and it's it's the highest win rate out of all the new decks. And you can also play him with Gwen, and you can play him with a bunch of shit. I mean, you could try Demacia, but you don't really have equipment with Demacia. The only thing holding Kanye back right now is that there's not a lot of equipment in many regions, and his cultists really want to use the equipment. Because if you can go up for a bit, so I can see for example, Momentous Choice, Ranger Knight Effector, the cultists really benefit from having used equipment. For example, Hitler's Resurrection as well. Keep going up because there's more. I remember. Well, yeah, there's more than that, but oh yeah, Noxian Defector and Shadowblade Fanatic, they all benefit from seeing equipment. So yeah, the only thing holding Kanye back right now is there's not that many equipment because this is like the set where we're literally introducing equipment. And another thing to note is that the only form that's really good is probably Rast. Because I don't think Shadow Assassin is that good unless you have literally need to do the last hit on the Nexus or something. But yeah, leveling Kanye is actually surprisingly easy. You have a ton of protection in Targon. You can level him pretty easy. You can go for like a longer game with Rast. It actually plays pretty similar to Zoe Nami, Starfish back in the day. That's how Zoe Kanye plays nowadays. So yeah, if you Snow, you want to say anything about Kanye, go.
yeah. Specifically about Kanye's package, I feel like a lot of the main deckable sort of equipment isn't that great for him and doesn't really work well. So you're really only caring about his own scythe, and there's really only few cards that are really going to work well with him, such as with at least within his reveal part, which is specifically Momentous Choice, Heedless Resurrection, Furious Wielder,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe Shadowblade Fanatic. I feel
Yeah,
like there just
maybe.
isn't while he is very flexible and all that, just a lot of the stuff that's supposed to be in his package isn't that great. So it's really just him that's going to be really good for Kane package.
Yeah. Okay, Ahlkrin. You want to say anything about Mr. Kanye West?
So, Mr. West here. I think I think Furious Wielder is pretty strong on him specifically, but also I think it works with 3 out of the 5 new champions we got that we'll touch
Oh.
up on later. I don't think, and now I'm I don't know why you would be running Noxus with Jax, but if for some reason you are, this isn't a horrible card to be playing. I could think of way worse cards, Wild Claw, but yeah, no, this isn't horrible. We also with this package, we got our look at the first real Darken card, the Darken equipment. And this is arguably probably the worst out of the
I'm
Darken
pretty
ones, but
sure it's the
I
worst one,
love
yeah.
what they're going through. I love what they're getting to because they're giving us variety where it's like, okay, you can have this equipment, or if you're at the end of the game, you can pay an ass ton and just get a big unit, a big boy. Okay, I don't think that's bad. Um, I think I think everyone else touched up on Momentous Choice,
It's really
which
good.
isn't bad.
It's one mana
Uh,
tween.
Tempting Prospect looks like an interesting card that might see a little bit of play in Scouts because turn 1 draw your turn 2 doesn't sound bad to me. Uh, I think there's only 2 major cultists worth talking about, and that's the Shadowblade Fanatic, and so we already touched up on that. But I think that the Forsaken
Oh,
Bakai
that's the best
is
one.
really good. is really good because he goes in so many other decks.
Mm.
I plan on playing him in Lurk, 100%. That's why he's my favorite card this set, is because he's just indirect Lurk support.
Mm.
Zilko could also use him, but maybe maybe Turbo Sundisk. I don't know. Heedless Resurrection is Sand support, and I fucking hate this in
Base.
every way. In every fucking way. It's just Mono Shrema Viego all day. Really fucking bad. The Draconic Bands, it's not atrocious, but you know, definitely not anything to write home about. Great Hammers is kind of cute. Jagged Cutlass. I like this. I like this a lot. I like this Jagged Cutlass, but I don't think it'll see play. And now we get to Kane himself. I definitely don't see the power that Bane is
Hello.
talking about, claiming that he would be the strong, because I think Jax is. I think Jax is the strongest by far. But no. I've seen gameplay of Ross, and I haven't seen Shadow Assassin in play yet, but I've seen gameplay of Ross, and I was definitely wrong. I was definitely wrong about him. He's a strong end game card, and that just about touches up on everything
See?
else. This is a meme, but this is Dan's card, so there you go.
That is a card I quite like. I guess I'll just add a couple other thoughts here. Mostly agree with everything people said. I will say that I think out of all these champions, Kane is the one I'm least excited for just to play. But I think a lot of the cards that came with this reveal, mini little session for Kane, surrounding him, I think are really cool. So if you don't mind just scrolling down real quick,
Oh yeah,
Ahlkrin.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw a little bit of this back with like a Lowie's package, but I really like the fact that we're getting, do this earlier, and you could, let's say, for example, for tentacles, you could spawn two, or you could wait a little bit more and spawn four. And I like the options that we're getting here. I think that's a really cool way to design a card, so I like that a lot. And all in all, I think that this first batch of equipment, and we're obviously going to see more later on, I think that there's a lot of really cool like versatility there. I think probably Great Hammers is one of my favorite just because I sort of daydream about putting that on an Annie and just like slamming and overwhelm Annie seems really, really funny to me. Um, rather than a Might, which is just one turn, this is gonna stay with them for a little bit and kind of mess up their day there. And then I suppose just two last points I'll touch on. I think Ahlkrin, you definitely touched upon Lurk being indirectly buffed here, and I will say I really like that treasure landmark. If you scroll down just a tiny bit, it shows the landmark that basically spawns an equipment. Yeah. So I think buried armory is really, really cool. Might not necessarily be something that you love seeing towards later turns in the game, but I think holding that in hand, or at least holding the equipment in hand, I should say, and being able to pop that onto a pike or a Rek'Sai is just really, really interesting. I only try to think of it from Lurk perspective, but if we try to look at it from
Good.
more of a Monoshima base perspective, it could be a little bit, a little bit
Yummy.
scarier.
Yummy.
But that's not really my cup of tea there. And then one last thing, and this is just to close out the Kanye package. For me, I think a lot of people have said this point, but I think it still stands true to be said. I just find that these origins are a little underwhelming. I feel that they did such a
So,
great job with Jin, and I think that's probably the popular opinion. And I will say that I think Jax is a step in the right direction in terms of feeling a little bit more
sí, a
versatile.
las 9, sí.
But ultimately, a lot of these packages are just exactly what you'd expect put in any type of this certain card, which is really cool. It's cool deck building, but I just really want to see them kind of push the barriers a little bit more with some of the origins. And yeah, I think with that we could maybe segue into Yi.
Yeah.
So yeah. So let's start with the cards below Yi that got revealed the day before Yi's followers. So down, down. A little bit more. Yeah. So right above Kane here. I'm gonna start with Silence and Suppress. I actually think this card is really good. It's a better Purify. It, just period. It's a better Purify for Demacia, and because it also destroys the unit's equipment and it's 1 mana. So I think this card is really good. And then Mistfall, I think it might be good. We just don't have really a deck for it yet. Like it probably just needs to see like a little bit more support with the upcoming expansions, but it'll come into being better. And then Heck Load Vessel just to me seems a little bit too slow at 5 mana, and it also giving them fleeting. If it didn't give them fleeting, it would probably be really good, or if it were lower mana, it would be pretty good. But to me, this just seems a little bit too high of a cost when you're giving fleeting next round. And Hexbliterator, that's just a Heimer Jace card. Um, so yeah, but onto Yee's, Master Yi himself and his support cards. I believe his support cards are pretty good, but Master Yi himself is okay. I don't see him being really strong, but I see him being like if you only have a single champion in a deck and you're running Ionia, like you might just want to throw him in there because he's just okay all around. Like he's better than most of the fallers that you'd be putting into the final 3 slots. But I don't think Master Yi himself is that great, or like you're really going to want to build a lot around him simply because he's so easy to remove, even though you're in the region that has all the anti-removal, which is Ionia. But talking about some of his support cards, the one that I really want to touch on is Vestayan Disciple. I think this card is absolutely cracked. And it'll be insane in even non-Master Yi decks because it's an elusive 1/1 that next strike becomes a burst elusive attacker or blocker and draws you for 3 mana, pretty much. Which that just seems absolutely insane to me. It seems like bonkers. Disciple of Doran, I can see it seeing play potentially, but it doesn't seem that great because you're just paying. You're just trying to get it for an extra spell trigger in something like a Lee Sin deck or a deck where you're using Eye of the Dragon. And Soul Sword, I just don't see it being good. Like because like you have to flow the turn before, so you have to have setup for 2 mana when you would rather just play something like a Twin Disciplines, or like before we talked about Momentous Choice, you would probably just rather have that over Soul Sword. So yeah, and then Master Yi's Wuju style, which is the last one, actually doesn't seem bad. It seems like it would be like Wuju style is of course able to be main decked. It seems like it will be really good in something like a Lee Sin deck, Lee Sin Auction maybe. But again, it doesn't seem like super giga, like the worst thing I've ever seen be added to the game. But yeah, that's my opinion on Master Yi. You have anything to add, Ahlkrin?
So you kind of touched up on a lot. I will say that if that loaded vessel is extremely specific, it's meant to, take care of that. The not going to take it. I'm stumbling over every fucking word, but it's supposed to be paired with with the meme of barrels, and I don't know what is up with Bilgewater getting a bunch of meme support. I think it was last expansion we got the monkey card, and now
Monkey.
monkeys are out of the deck. They're just they're just they're everywhere, and it's pretty cool. Monkeys are fun, but loaded vessel is meant to go with the whole barrels, and I see what they're trying to do. And if they made this card any different at all, it like stronger as in like cheaper or doing more damage or whatever, or not giving the cards fleeing, it would be busted. This is already edging as close to the line as they can without it being absolutely fucking insane, which is a bummer because it's one of those scenarios where it's either completely broken or it's just not worth not worth anything. I completely agree with Mistfall. What I will say is that Mistfall later on will be really fucking good if they add in an equipment card that, it's I want this equipment and I want it now.
Yeah, it's a tutor.
Like for turn 4, everyone will be jamming in 3 copies of Mistfall. Why? Because you slam it down and it instantly draws you that one equipment. So, for example, I think I also want to disagree with you on the Soul Sword thing. I think this is really good. Granted, I don't know what Ionia deck I'd want to play it in, but if I was to pick out a really strong equipment, I'd probably pick out the Soul Sword. The idea that you could flow into this at 2, this is really good. So if I was to do, a Mistfall any equipment from this set, I would Mistfall the Soul Sword, which nice, it's in the same region. But yeah, but I really wish Hex Obliterator didn't exist because I don't think Heimer Jace needed any more toys, let alone the ability to obliterate anything. You're 100% right with the Visayan Disciple. This is insane. This is pretty cool. Wuju style is, and this is where I think I don't think there's a wrong answer in it, but what's the best card out of Yi's package? Is it the Disciple or is it Wuju style? Because they're both really fucking good. But other than that, Yi himself is really fucking underwhelming. The rest of his cards are kind of iffy. This card right here, I'm glad that Jun the Prodigy is limited with being equipped, because otherwise this would just be a really strong Shen support card. And now I have ideas. Alrighty, and Dan, you got anything you want to add?
Yeah, sure, Ahlkrin. I actually think, funnily enough, the most exciting thing for me with the Ionia package is actually just trying to play around some more Jin type decks.
Oh,
So it's really interesting to me now that we have some, obviously, I think the big new vocab flow here is really interesting because we did get some changes to some old cards, including Eye of the Dragon, which I think a lot of people would disagree that maybe it didn't need it. I'm probably in that boat if I had to guess. If I had to put an answer on one side, I'd probably be on the boat that it didn't need a buff like that. Um, Obviously having flow proc with skills as well as spells is really exciting to me. I think there's a lot of really cool play styles you can do, and it almost makes me want to try pushing myself out of my comfort zone in terms of what I like to play, and maybe trying more of a Stolly type deck with say Ken and Jin, for example. Um, I'm not the first person to come up with that. In fact, Absolution was the one that is really just like planting that seed into everyone's head, and I gotta say I'm all for it. I'm really excited that he kind of theory crafted that one. So I think that there's a lot of really interesting cards here that can really help out Jin in Ionia, and I really like that because when he was first revealed in League, I think obviously we didn't have like a Runeterran necessarily basis for him. He was kind of associated with Ionia, at least that was my understanding. So, being able to play him in Ionia with we have the stage hand, we have and I'm forgetting the name here. Someone might have to remind me, but the one that recalls a unit that has the
the
same or
maker,
less health. Yes, you said, was it Playmaker?
the
What you
maker,
said?
the maker.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I think that's a card that I've never really played with Jin. But I think it could really find a nice home with Ionia here. So after spending all that time talking about why I'm excited to play more Jin, Mastery a little underwhelming. I love his design. I mean, I guess I'll give him that. I think he looks awesome. It's really cool to see the new art. Um, I don't think I need to gush about the art for every single set, but I'm gonna do a little bit. It's really gorgeous artwork, and that's probably the most exciting thing I have to say about Yi. I think his support cards are really interesting, but yeah, he's not going to be my day one craft. I'll probably sit out for a while and see if I could farm him with weekly vaults. So that's my thought process. But long story short, I do enjoy a lot of the Ionia cards here, and probably shout out to Disciple for being like one of the most interesting play styles there. So yeah, man, you have anything else to add?
Yeah, actually, quite a lot, because this is probably my favorite set after Kanye. So the thing with all of these Ionian cards is that most of them are like okay with Yi, but they're so good with other archetypes. For example, Wuju style, the fucking Bastian Disciple 2, they're so good with Ionian Nami TF. Like I think like that's gonna be 100% a deck, like for sure. There's so many good one-cost cards in Ionia as well that you can get off Burble Fish. Like now Wuju style is there. You get Health Potion. You can get Ionian Tailstones. And what else? There's basically a bunch of shit that you can get off there. So I'm pretty excited to play Yuna Nami TF. And I do agree with Mistfall. I think it's gonna be a really good tutor. And one thing I like about Yi is that he's basically like Lee Sin 2.0. The only thing I don't like Master Yi is that it forces you to play spells like proactively. I think you say when you do it like proactively in Ionia, which is a really bad thing. You usually want to keep your spells in the back, and you want to represent the Deny Mana, the Concussive Palm. You want to represent the Twin, and yeah, it's forcing you to like actually use your spells if you want to build up the Master Yi. Unlike Lee Sin, which like you do use spells to proc the Eye of the Dragon, but most of the times it doesn't feel bad because they're trying to kill your eye because it's healing every turn, and then you protect the eye, and then you already get the Dragon Link off of that exchange. But yeah, I'm really excited to play Master Yi Lee Sin because it's basically a second copy of Lee Sin. I see the Noxus deck that Jordan made. So, one last thing, I think the equipment card sucks. I think it's terrible. I would be surprised, like actually surprised if it's any play at all. And Disciple of Doran is Feel the Mina support. So yeah, turn 10, if you get 3 copies of Doran, that's a turn 10. Fucking a 10 mana, what's it called? Feel the Rush, dude. So that's broken. But in all seriously, I think it's cool. Maybe it's a 2 off in Feel the Mina. Yeah, maybe we can move to the next champion.
So because we're really bad at sorting things out, this means that I get these Darkest support cards to talk about.
Yeah.
And then we get to go on to my favorite champion, man.
Yippee!
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm just gonna sit back and we're gonna grab popcorn. I recommend you guys do the same here.
So
Yeah,
Seal and Steel, this brought up a big talk among the community. Targon getting access to some fast speed spells puts the fear of God in quite a few people. I think this is really nice, and I don't know if you would ever run this, but I think it's far from a useless card, because if you're like, especially in Faded, if you're building up a big dude and they're about to slam down a vengeance or slam down some form of removal or whatever, if you don't have access to the Bastion, then this might be a decent alternative. It's just, okay, I accept I'm losing that unit, so you obliterate it, create this equipment, and then you throw those stats onto a new unit and keep fucking going. The thing about I think about Faded is that they tend to put a lot of eggs into one basket until Pantheon comes onto the board. Then you just lose because keyword soup. But if they never draw Pantheon and you remove that one unit, you basically win. But Seal and Steel, it might make it so you're not completely fucked. I don't know. I think that this is far from a useless card. Back Alley Bar is, I don't know. I think it's kind of a meme. Darken Lodestone. I think it's a decent equipment, Perazi. I don't know. I don't know if you're playing Harazi with Evelyn and all that. Mecha Pulverizer, completely a meme, but this will not stop me from playing it in like one of inside my Mecha Yordle discard. And we're gonna go ahead and jump straight to it. Okay, Nora. I am definitely on the Bandle hate train. I could not stand Yordles and Arms, and I could not stand Bandle Tree. When the deck got nerfed enough to where it fucking died, I could not be happier. And then Nora was revealed. So we're either going to have a tier 1 Sneezy Bickle Dust meta, or Nora's not going to be played at all, and she's going to be so fucking bad. And in that case, I'll be happy that I'm wrong, because I'm normally always wrong. So I'm hoping I'm wrong about this. Her other pieces are kind of fine. This is the last breath one, so, you could always just obliterate it or kill it and risk the mysterious portal. This is a drop it, forget it. The Origami Slicer is pretty cute, but this is pretty fucking bad. Magical Journey, I don't see that. This is probably gonna be the most interesting card. I don't expect it to see play, but if I lose to this fucking card when I go up against Teemo, I just had it coming. At that point, I just fucking had it coming. Her level up abilities kind of ridiculous, but it is what it is. I think this whole champ is fucking ridiculous. The ability to just swarm the board and provide yourself with so much more value than your opponent. I don't think this should be a thing. I think that we stepped away from this. But no, it's back, and it's either here to stay or it's just going to get forgotten. And personally, I'm hoping for the latter. So I'll pass this on to Dan.
All right. Thank you, Ahlkrin. I think, we can likely skip past a lot of these other cards. I mean, Back Alley Bar, a lot of people are saying it's catastrophe support. Like, I don't know who's to say. It's kind of interesting. I will say, just for context, I did see a rioter confirm that new cards in this instance are cards that you haven't played before. So take that how you will. But that's what that means. Yeah, let's just scroll up a little bit. Let me just give some thoughts on Nora, because I will agree. You know, to me, and maybe this is a compliment, maybe this is an insult, but it really just seems like Nora is designed like one of those like custom cards that you'd see fans make, in the sense that it's really cool and it's also really, really strong, at least on paper. I think when this came out, a lot of the community was kind of up in arms. Maybe people still are. I have not got a chance to play her yet, but she just seems like a lot of fun. She just seems like a lot of fun. You can do a lot with her. There's a lot of random chances to have some really funny moments, and I like that. I think that's a really healthy thing for the game, because not everything is ultimately going to be super competitive, and I think we have to try to
Ok.
appeal
Yo
to
enseguida me
all
pongo a
types of people,
cocinar,
and
igual es
this looks
rápida la
fun,
comida.
and it also
Enseguida me pongo a cocinar, es rápida la
goes
comida.
without saying, but obviously Nora is not a character or champion yet in League,
Bueno,
so again, this
ok.
is really maybe broadening their appeal. People might be interested in Nora based on Yumi's lore, or just interested in the character. And I think that's really cool. I think it's setting a really neat precedent where we could potentially get characters before before we get them revealed in League. So I think that's really awesome with Nora. But like I said, it really just seems like this is kind of like not super well thought out. I don't know. I haven't played against it. I haven't played as it. But as it stands on paper, it really just sort of seems busted. Sort of seems like there's little to no counterplay. You've got a lot of burst speed draws, obviously. Just a lot of craziness. And I'm not sure how how much fun it's going to be when you're just kind of like maybe being roped by it on a game or on ladder, and you're just kind of like getting swarmed by a bunch of instant summons. So I suppose that is quite fearful there. So I do resonate with your point, Ahlkrin. It just kind of seems too strong. But we'll see how it ends up panning out. I guess closing thoughts for me. Definitely want to try this with Nami.
Bata,
That
chimbo,
sounds like a
bata.
lot of fun. So
I
my thoughts on
definitely
Nora.
I don't wanna cut off anybody from going next.
No, go.
But I'm gonna do
You're
just
good.
that. But it's like Dan just nailed it right on the head. It's like I don't know. I don't find facing off against Yoros and Arms fun. I don't find facing off against Bandletree fun. So seeing this, it's just a Nora Biggledust. I don't see this fun. So if this goes tier 0, all people have to do to stop her is to stop her from attacking. That's the only counterplay. But the issue is she fucking snowballs. And not everyone wants to play exclusively Piltover and Zon for this stupid Mystic shot. Not everyone wants to fucking do that.
Okay, I'm gonna
I don't know.
most decks have interaction. Like, unless you're playing at a generate ass fucking pile that is just like Action Infinite or some shit, most decks have some form of to interact with the champion. But okay, if that's all you have to say now, I can take over Nora.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I feel like I have more of a cool-headed take on Nora because I actually did play her today. Okay, if you can go down a bit so I can see
sorry.
the other cards first. Okay, yeah. I'll start with Nora just because to don't lose my train of thought here. I think most of Nora's package isn't that good, and that really affects her because really the only way you have of getting portals is Nora herself and the 2-mana 2/2, the junk construct that has last breath. Yeah, that one. The Team Maker is maybe okay, with a 3-mana 3/1 is really bad if you want to play Swarm, and really bad if you want to play a more value game as well. And like I said, it's really hard to keep her alive. Maybe the part that you have to do is maybe some turbo protect Nora, but in that case then you can't really do Swarm and you're going more for like a value oriented game. And Nora herself, I don't feel like it's actually a win con. Like, it's not a reliable win con because you're relying on her actually pulling a win con. You know, it's kind of like putting one of Treasure Trash in your deck. It's like, okay, maybe I can get a win con, but it's not what you base your deck around because you know it's not reliable. And I feel like Nora is the same. Like, you never get to a point, at least when I play a bunch of games today against her and with gear, and you never get to a point where the portals get too crazy. Like, the games end pretty fast nowadays in Legends of Runeterra. So unless maybe against a control pile, but then they have too much interaction and your Nora dies all the time. Because keep in mind, she only has that insane level 2 while she's on the board, and she has 3 HP. Like, sure, you have stress defense for Bandle, but like, it's not that good, and you don't want to play stress defense in Yolan Arms. Maybe she ends up being in Nora Felios. I saw someone make that. Maybe that's gonna end up being the mood, and that's gonna be the Nora pile that actually breaks her. But I think Nora is not that good, actually. I feel like, you know, Nora gets value by striking. You know, she's okay. She's kind of like Zoe. She's a worse Zoe, but she's still Zoe. You know, if you get the strike in, she usually trades up in mana unless it's Mystic Shot or single combat. But it's pretty easy to interact with her. You can Sharp Shot, you can Quicksand. What else can you do? Off the top of my head, the cards that aren't that bad. You can Quiet Tooth her and already trading up. You can, but potentially calling striker as well. You can stun plus flock. You get my point. The point is that Nora is not that hard to remove. Maybe I'm gonna be proven wrong when some insane Nora pile comes out and she's the tier 1 best deck always, but my impressions are pretty bad with her, especially because her support fucking blows. Let's go down a bit to just prove that. Portal Palooza, no, the ones up, because those are okay, I guess. Yeah, Portal Palooza, like compare this to Eye of Nagakaburos. I know Eye of Nagakaburos is insanely good, but Portal Palooza is like so bad. 5 mana to draw only 1, plan 2, like at most this is summon a 1 single burst blocker, which is okay, but you're only drawing 1. Unless you planted before, the odds aren't that good at it too. Maybe you high roll, but it's not a card that you want to main deck, you know. Realms Caretaker, do I even need to say it? Like, for decks that want to swarm, 6 mana is just too much of an investment, unless you like get the benefit that turn. So maybe you can 6 mana plus draw, but you never get like how are you gonna draw in Bangle City for 3 mana if you bank at 3, and you have to bank 3 as well. This is not like fucking what's the name, Wine Eagle-Eyed, where you could drop it on turn 6 and it had the effect instantly and you were winning the game that turn. This is not that. 6 mana for a swarm deck, that's too much if you're not ending the game. Living Library, that card sucks. I don't know. It's not doing a whole lot. 5 mana, 4/3 elusive. Ooh. And the effect is draw 1 if a traps was... Even if it drew 1 without the requirement, I think it would still be bad. Eclectic Collection, some people were saying that this card was actually okay, but 7 mana, really? I don't like it. I don't like it at all. The Magical Journey, yeah, it's below, because that's the mysterious rune. We all know what Nora does. If it drew 1, it would be insane, but it doesn't draw 1, so it's garbage. You're paying 2 mana, do nothing, and it's actually do nothing. I hate it. It's so bad, especially because it's in the same place that, you know, Guiding Touch, Pokey Stick, the 2 mana heal. Yeah. Oh, a Pay Cascade. That's the one I'm thinking about. Origami Slicer also sucks. Yeah, just like overall his support fucking blows. If she had better ways to plant portals, then she would be better. But she doesn't. She's pretty much the only way you have of planting portals, and that makes her, you know, superb compared to others, you know. Subpar is what I mean, not superb. Mecha Pulverizer, I think this can be okay in Jinx Lulu type decks, you know. Bandle discard. I think it's fun. I think it's okay. I can definitely see a shell for this. It's not bad at all because it keeps recycling. You know, at worst, it comes back to your hand and becomes discard fodder. That's pretty good. And back alley.
Definitely not trying to poke again into it, but when I brought this up,
yeah,
this goes to the meme of what happens when you put 2 really bad cards together. Does it make a good card? That's me with this and Noble Rebel.
Okay, not Noble Rebel though. I don't know about that, but like, you know, it would be okay. You know, this on like a Poro from the Port Cannon, Daring Poro, that's pretty good. You know, it's a decent play. You know, you have a 4/4 Poro. Maybe you support the second Poro with Lulu, and you have 2 4/4 elusives. That's kind of progress, right? Okay, yeah, we go down here. Yeah, no, you're thinking about Noble Rebel, of course. That's the first thing that comes to your mind. Noble Rebel. Back alley bar. I'm very sad that this card isn't seeing more experimentation, because it's actually kind of okay, I think. I know, Back alley barkeep. When I read this card too, I was like, oh my god, yeah, just go next card. This is a meme card. But it actually has potential, because, you know, it's like a baby glorious evolution, like a really baby glorious evolution. It gives you a body. Like, the fact that it does something on summon, it gives you a body and it gives you a card. That's pretty good. And then it's an engine that lasts for the rest of the game. You know, every new card, in case people don't know, is any card that you haven't played this game, costs 1 less. You can go turbo with this shit. You can go for like an Aphelios, PNC, Targon, like old value kind of pile. I think it would be pretty good, because you always get new cards. You know, you always get Invoke, you draw into your new card. You know, your weapons, each one will cost less. And yeah, I think that's pretty good, but I'm gonna get on the one that I think is the most broken card of the expansion. I think this card is ridiculous, and maybe it's gonna stay like a strong staple, but Lodestone is so broken, man. This is Esmus on crack. What the fuck, man? This card is insane, bro. This card is insane. I swear.
Okay.
You slam this on anything, and then you support Zoe, you support Sparkle Fly, you support anything. Or you use it on your Zoe itself to get like the extra HP. I don't know, I think this card is broken as fuck. And you can also use the Darkin after. Like Darkin, if it was a main deck card, you would never play it. But since it's already tied to a good card, sometimes you get to play it and sometimes you get to pop off. Because it's a fucking grant. Sí, sí, todo bien, ahí abajo. And I think that's insane. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I think this card will maybe get nerfed, or maybe will remain a very strong staple in Targon. Sealing still, I don't know, maybe gets a pile at some point. I wouldn't really care. I'm not crazy about this card.
So I know, God, I'm just ruining the podcast today with these kinds of questions. I gotta ask for the meme. Does this make Mistfall playable?
I don't know what Mistfall is, bro.
The
The one that
Ionian-
draws?
No,
Yeah,
it does not make Mistfall
No, you
playable.
don't. I don't think you want to
No way
play
in hell.
Ionia with Targa. I don't know. Maybe. I
don't
don't think
know,
you don't like need to draw it, but it's really good when you have it. You know.
Master Yi and
Okay, you're insane,
Aphelios.
brother. That sounds fun. Oh no, that sounds fun. But yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just memeing at this point.
Sí,
but,
ya voy a
you know,
cocinar,
I
ya.
had to ask because you're
Estoy anotando
complimenting
mucho.
this equipment really well. So
Yeah.
bring up the best equipment tutor.
Okay, yeah. I'll have to leave now, guys. But like, you guys can go over this, and then maybe I'll join and give final thoughts. But yeah, you guys can finish up, do everything the rest, and yeah, enjoy the cards, buddy.
Okay, thanks, Bane.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Bane. Shall we move over to Jax then?
Or Snowy still needs to go over.
Oh,
Well,
sure.
I agree with most of what Bane had said previously. I don't think Nora's package is that great, especially because she's a 2-mana 1/2 on summon, and then becomes a 2-mana 2/3 with a pretty actually hard to level, because created allies aren't easy to get early on in the game, necessarily unless you're playing a deck specifically for that. But in that case, like, Nora's just gonna get destroyed. So I don't think Nora's that great. I also agree that the only really good card in her support package is the Junk Construct, because it's 2-mana 2/2 Last Breath. I believe pretty much all of the other cards in her package are pretty trash. I think Portal Palooza is good as a champ spell for her, but I don't think it's a main deckable spell. I don't think any of the other cards in her package are good. I do wish Back Alley Barkeep, the Back Alley Bar specifically, was 5 mana. I think then it would be a little bit more playable and probably able to see a lot more experimentation. But at 6 mana, I think it's a little bit too late to be making cards cost 1 less and not having other effects besides summoning 1 Back Alley Barkeep. And I don't believe the Dark Lodestone is like the super mega broken thing, as Bane had said, but I do think it's really good, especially since we're seeing a lot of Zoe Kane. It's really great in there, and I think it might also be good in some Taric list or something like that. I just think it's an all around pretty great equipment. Like, you're not really ever going to use Harazzi that much, but I do believe that Lodestone just in and of itself is a really good equipment, especially since it's like maintaining the support effect.
Mhm.
Yeah. So let's move on to Jax.
Alrighty, Dan goes first
Nice.
with this one.
Yeah, this is the only champion, new champion, that I've played today. Played a couple games with Jax, and I really love him for a few number of reasons. Firstly, having a 2-cost champion is always fun. I like being able to swing with a really kind of low-cost unit and just continue to pump that value. The games I played with Jax felt just like I never really ran out of steam. Obviously we got to talk about the packages with improvise and a lot of these cards that essentially auto-equip, which is something that Jax also likes to do. You know, he comes with his auto-equip that is quick attack normally, but will give him overwhelm on level. And he, in that sense, I would almost compare him. I've compared him to Udyr, in the sense that he continuously gets you know, raw stats on attack. He's constantly increasing his damage, and I think it's really easy to level him. Obviously, he levels in hand, but having him drop on 2 is really great. So I guess like if you just want to scroll down a little bit, I'll just talk a little bit about some of the improvise equipment because you know, obviously you can't improvise all of the equipment, but there's a good bunch that are like Rune Terran tokens, so not collectible or main deckable, but you'll be able to get them through improvise. So yeah, if you wouldn't much mind scrolling down a little bit, we could see some of those characters there. Yeah, really cool stuff. Like we got a lot of brand new multi-region units, which are just thematically like brilliant. I love it. Piltovan Castaway, such a cool card. I love it. I love seeing all the cool, crazy combos. Of course, it goes without saying that, you know, then again, you know, Bandletree support. I know we don't like it, we don't love it, but I'm talking about Jax here. And so I do love all of his cards. It's like he's just kind of like pulling this ragtag group of his cronies, you know, to fight against the void, and I love it. It's something very satisfying about dropping a unit, and then, you know, getting just free raw stats with your improvise. I think it's a really fun play style, and there's really not very many bad equipments to get. I mean, there's a couple that are very similar. If you don't mind scrolling down just a little bit more, Ahlkrin, there is probably, I guess, the worst one, if you wanted to call it that, is the Shepherd's Authority, only because it's a camp block, but it has really good stats, so it's really not even that bad. I personally just think these are all really cool, really flavorful. I don't know much about Jack's lore. I know that he's, you know, kind of fighting against the void, I suppose. But I think he's definitely has something to do with being a fisherman. He's got a skin like that in League. So I guess if anything, I really got to give kudos to the team because it's making me interested in Jax as a character. I think his redesign here is great. He doesn't just look like an Oompa Loompa anymore. So that's awesome. I love seeing the redesigns and lore. Probably one of my favorite things of seeing a new champion get revealed. And I mean, you know, no, some equipment are better than others. I think Scout is really strong. Obviously, getting any keyword just on summon is obviously very strong. But a lot of really interesting playstyles here. I will say that I've been playing a little bit. I didn't play too much today, but a little bit of timelines with Jax, and that just feels insane because you are literally playing an improvise unit, giving it raw stats, and then just hoping you get an even stronger unit to have that equipment already equipped on. So it's a really fun play style. I'm curious to try some other things with Jax. I've got a few ideas, but you know, I will just kind of tee it off here by saying I love again that he is a low cost champion. I think there's a lot of really interesting things you could do here. And my kind of dream deck that I want to build is Jax and Annie. I think there's a lot of really cool things you could do. Obviously, Noxus is great for burning down the opponent's nexus, right? Like, who are we kidding? And having to just be able to swarm with some low cost units, get some equipment on the board. It just seems like fun, and that's exciting to me. I like that he's a little bit more versatile, and I think I touched upon this earlier, but I was you know, mentioning that Jax probably has the second best origin so far. It's not super pigeonholed, I guess is the expression there. You can do kind of a lot with the equipment, and you can put them in quite a few regions where it doesn't necessarily feel as limited as some of the other champions. Like I guess Evelyn, maybe, you know, she still played with a lot of different variety, but she is not like widely appealing to me. So yeah, all in all, I'm really impressed with Jax. I think he looks great, and I've had a lot of fun with him. So yeah, I'll tee it over to Snowy then.
Well,
Bane did
actually,
have
yeah,
to
it's
Bane
Bane.
did have to step out, but he
Right.
did leave his opinions for me, so I will go over his opinions now, then give it
Oh,
to
excellent.
Ahlkrin, and then do my opinions as me. But these are going to be Bane's specific opinions on Jax. Bane says that he thinks he really wants to see a good Demacia pile with Jax. He thinks that Jax does have a lot of potential, specifically with Demacia, to be pretty good. And he also agrees with you, Dan, when you were talking about timelines. He says improvise is absolutely insane, quote unquote, with with timelines, specifically because you're getting that free equipment and it's actually going onto the transformed unit. So you're getting a better unit with an equipment. So it's like pretty much absolutely like just like one of the most insane things about this expansion. And yeah, I'll leave it over to you, Alkrin.
So Jax, I do have to agree with Dan that Jax is probably who I view as the most interesting of this whole expansion. Uh, I think the biggest heartbreak is that he is, and this is kind of 50-50, that he is a Runeterra champion, because this makes the idea of what I want to do, which is I want to pair Jax with Gwen, uh, because he involves equipped allies and dealing damage, and that works with Hollowed. Uh, but the improvised package is pretty nice. It kind of sucks that he's a Runeterra because no actual support, and with Gwen he doesn't get forged or anything outside of his spell. But eh. Um, I also want to touch up on what Dan was saying, talking about the origin. I actually completely disagree on what he was saying between this and Kane. Uh, Kane's origin did more besides just affecting deck building. Uh, and I think the reason why Jax's origin is so lackluster and only affecting deck building is because he's so cheap. Now, if they gave a 2-cost champion, Rune Terra champion at that, a secondary effect on his origin, it would be questionable if that's balanced at all. But I think Kane's origin of after you play 3 of his tribes that are just a bunch of shitty cards, but after playing them you draw him, which I don't know. I think that alone is a decent ability to have on an origin, but like his pack, the difference between that, like on the other side, is that Jax's package looks actually pretty decent. I really like these improvised token cards. They look so cool. I think Catch is a really good card if equipment ever really becomes, a big thing, whether it's in this meta or next meta or 6 metas later, or if it never becomes something. I think the idea that catch being a staple and equipment based ones will keep Demacia, Freljord, or Weapon Master as the main deck to go to when it comes down to equipment. I think the last thing I'll touch up on is that I have very much seen the memes of Weapon Master Bandletree, and I want all of you to take all 5 of your Exodia pieces and shove them up your ass. Because if that becomes meta, then I'm running 3 Scorched Earth. And that's all I'm going to leave it at. The tree is supposed to be dead. We burnt it down with that patch. It needs to stay that way. Snowy, it's your move.
Okay, so going back to what you said about Jax's origin, I sort of believe that what Riot likes to do is for champions that are best in slot, they are going to play 3 of anyways. They aren't really going to add extra effects to the origin, but for champs that aren't really best in slot, sort of like Bard, Jin, you really play them for their origin, not for them themselves. They sort of are forced to add extra effects in order to make you play them. So I think that's how they sort of are balanced that's how they're sort of making it balanced. As if the champ is best in slot, sort of like Evelyn, like they aren't going to add an extra effect because you're going to play 3 of them anyways. So there's no real reason for them to. But yeah, I also think Jax's package itself is pretty strong. I think Improvise is a really strong effect, getting like a depleting sort of list of cards with stuff like Upcycled Rake, Scout. I mean, we just got off of what we're probably might still be in, but Kaisa, Scout, like we know how bad Scout can be and how crazy it can be. And I think just most of Jax's followers are really good. I'm actually really excited about Blades of the Fallen because it's giving Gluttony decks and other decks that are based off of Last Breath, you're able to give other characters a Last Breath effect, and now you can all of a sudden use Gluttony on them and not feel as bad to like sort of kill your own units. So I feel like that's actually a really good addition for those sort of Shadow Isles decks. But yeah, I really like Jax's package as a whole. Hearts Made Whole, I don't think is super like I don't think parts make. I'm not sure what to think about Parts Made Whole because it seems good, but like I'm not sure if it's going to actually see play. And Entrancing Lure, I think, um, is probably going to be pretty good in Jack's decks specifically, and I'm not sure if it's going to really see play in any other decks. Sharesies, I also think is a really strong card. I just think it needs to find its right deck, especially since, as we talked about before, there's Lodestone, and Lodestone's really good, and this is also Targon. So I feel like that just together can be a pretty good package. But let's move on to the last package, which is I'm going to start on the bottom here before the orange stuff, and then I'll move up to the orange stuff. I'm really excited about Quietus. And as you guys know, I am an Anivia player, and this is just a cracked card for Shadow Isles. There's no other way to say it. It counters weapons decks, and it's also really easy. It's a 1 mana removal, right? Like it allows Zombie Ash maybe to come back into the meta. It allows Anivia to come back to the meta, especially since her champ spell is a Frostbite 2, and you run a ton of Frostbites in Anivia as well. It just feels like a really great champ spell to sort of stop some things from becoming overpowered. Um, Also, again, can kill Nora, so it is a really good Nora counter, and it just feels like a really solid, great, like new core card for Shadow Isles based decks. Malefic Spear, I think it seems okay to me, but I'm just not sure if it's going to be good enough because it's just giving stats and it's after an ally died. It might be good in like a Kindred or a Callista deck. Again, I'm not really quite sure. Um, I don't think Dark and Halberd is that great, especially since it's like you're killing an ally to give another ally +2/+2, but we already have a 1 mana deal 1 damage to an ally to give another ally +2/+2 in the game, and that's Burst. Well, this is not Burst. I feel like that would just be better. And if you were to be spending 10 mana to play Tarash, you would probably just rather have Harrowing. So I just feel like that card isn't great. And Keeper of the Box is a great card for Kane decks, and I think that's really good. But moving on to Ornn and his whole package, I think Ornn's package isn't that great. I feel like Ornn being a 7 mana like really hurts him because at that part of the game, like with his game plan, you might have already lost, and he's also really easy to remove. He's 7 mana, so a Vengeance is trading up, and it just seems like he's not good enough at 7 mana. His level up is pretty cool, and I do like his effect. I just think 7 mana is a bit too much, and his level up might be a little bit too hard for a 7 mana card. His champ spell, Bellows Breath, I think it's good on its own as a main deckable spell, but I wish it wasn't his champ spell, simply because at the turn 7, turn 8, you aren't really going to need it as much. It isn't going to be as great. Ornn's Forge seems okay to me because it creates one in hand when it's played, but I'm just not sure if it's too slow or not too slow. But I think we can all agree Rock Colossus sucks. It just sucks. It's just a bad card. It's
Yeah,
unplayable.
I agree with you there. give
no
that
one's
one to you.
going to play it. And I think the best card in Ornn's whole package is Combat Cook. I think Combat Cook is really great, actually, especially because he's also Demacia. So he gets an equipment, and that equipment also gets +1/+1, which I think is just an insane card. Combat Cook is really good in Ornn decks, but I also think it's really good in just any Demacia like based deck and some other Freljord based decks. But I think mainly it's going to be used as a Demacia card. And it's also part of Jax's origin as well, which sort of completes that. And then Weaponsmith Apprentice, I don't think is that great. Adept Weaponsmith, I think, isn't that great for 3 mana. It seems a bit expensive for a Forge and Ally effect. Favored Artisan, it seems okay, because it's 2 mana, 1/4, give an ally +1/+1, which it doesn't seem bad. And Hearthblood Mender also doesn't seem that bad because it's healing, basically doing 6 healing and granting an ally +1/+1. But I don't think either of the two equipments are good, and I also think Gift of the Hearthblood is absolute dog shit. So yeah, that's my opinion on Ornn. But let me also, while I'm talking now, just do Bane's opinion on Ornn real quick.
Oh boy,
So
this is fun. This is the fun part.
Bane thinks that Ornn. I personally, I do like Ornn's design. I just think he's really underpowered right now. But Bane thinks Ornn is a boring ass champion, quote unquote. And he also he says that he doesn't really care about Ornn, especially because of how like underpowered he seems. He also thinks Ornn might fit into a timelines deck, sort of like Trundle has found a spot in timeline stacks. And he also wants to play FTR Ornn because of the 10 damage. Feel the rush, in case you guys don't know what FTR is. But FTR Ornn is what he's thinking. And yeah, so I'll leave it up to Ahlkrin.
So it's my move. Quietus. I don't think that this is the big staple 3 of for every, not even in every control based Shadow Isles deck. I don't think this is a bad card at all. But the thing is that this is really good drawing into it at the very beginning of the game. But then when you're later on in the game, this literally becomes a dead card. But then again, I'm not sure. Destroying the equipment might be might see some use later on. So then this goes back to the, what if we ever get a meta where equipment is out of control, where equipment is just the the thing you got to counter. This then becomes even more valuable because not only does it counter the burn matchups, but it also counters all the equipment matchups. So I like, again, much like with the Darken cards, I like the variety and I love what they're going for. But I think this is good, but there's definitely going to be times where this feels really shit to draw, and playing 3 of them, you're going to regret it. But that's just a me thing.
I just want to pop in here with what you said for
Yes.
Quietus. I believe that Freljord Shadow Isles Control absolutely loves this card, especially because you're always running Frostbites with either 3 Sisters or 3 mana Frostbite. So I feel like Quietus will always pretty much be a staple in the Freljord Control. But I also agree with you that it might not be a 3 of, and it probably will be like a 2 of in those lists, and just be a really good 2 of. So yeah.
And that is definitely a very interesting, not really interesting because that makes me sound like a dick, but like a very valid point to bring up, because that was literally, as I've spammed in the chat, that's literally the first thing everyone said was when this card dropped. They said, you played this and it zombie ash has removal. Yes.
Zombie Ash
But
Nivea.
and Nivea, well, yeah, and Nivea too. But Nivea, I don't know. It's like this. The issue with this combo is that it's 2 cards destroying 1, and it's 4 mana total. Yes, if something like this kills Rost. 100%, this kills Rost. So if anything gets out of control, Rost or maybe a Field Rush champion, yeah, this controls that like completely. That's combo of freeze it into Quietus. That's 4 mana, 2 cards, but it's like I don't know. It really hurts to use 2 cards in this game to kill 1 unit, but it gets done all the time. And who knows? Side note, the meme also goes where Darkness can technically run this same 2-cost combo, only you replace the with the Frostbite with Stress Defense, and then Quietus instantly kills the target. Is it a good one? I don't know. It's not a bad combo, but yeah, I think 2-of is a decent sweet spot. And if you get into a meta where that's even questionable, just bumping it down to a 1-of is perfectly fine. But I don't know. Malefic Spear. This was also what a lot of people said was probably going to be one of the best equipments, because it's essentially a 1 mana +2/+1. But and it gears fearsome. That's right. I like it, but I think it goes back down to the Cutlass, the Plunderer Cutlass, where it's like it's not a bad card if you ever run into it and have to play it, but it's one of those I don't know if I want to run. Like, do I want to main deck this card? And I know we're backtracking a lot here, but that's just how I roll. That probably is more of a compliment to improvise as an entire mechanic, rather than a disrespectful comment towards equipment here. It's like it comes off that most of these equipment, they're nice, and hey, they're first timers, like woohoo, thumbs up. But the fact that like you gotta try to spend valuable slots in your deck for this, like I don't know if any of these any of the equipment revealed this expansion is worth it, unless you're memeing, which Noble Rebel Pulverizer. But I'm gonna move on. I really like Halberd and Tarosh, but if people say they're bad, I can't really say they're wrong. Who knows? Maybe this is another 1-of where it's like, hey, look, I could throw this. I could play this with Callista. It's you play this, kill a token, give her progress on her level up, and you give her a buff. Cool, but maybe as a 1-of, I don't know. I don't think that it's. I don't think it's amazing, but I like him. But I like a lot of bad shit. So, what do I know? I play Pirates. Keeper of the Box. I think this is really nice, but I think we kind of discussed this already, where you're really not playing like in your Kanye West deck, you're not really playing a lot of equipment aside from Mr. West himself. So he doesn't come down till turn 5. So you're not getting an equipped ally until turn 5. On turn 5, do you really want a 2-cost 2 lifesteal 2? Like, I don't know. I don't think you do. I could be wrong, but I don't think you want him. I really don't think you want to play him. These are nice. I don't want to talk too much about them. So time and dedication. This goes to Orange Forge. I could be completely wrong, but the idea of equipment and forging, like so improvise into forge, it's already a slow as fuck deck. So this being an engine, it matches the pace. You're already slow as fuck anyway. I don't think the idea of playing a Forge or two, or hell, maybe even maxing this out at 3, I don't think this is a bad idea. I'll be real. I think Orin's Forge is way more valuable than Weaponsmith or Mender.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think I
I'd
agree
much.
with.
Yeah, you could agree on that. Yeah. Uh, so I don't know. Maybe I'm not crazy, or maybe I am. I don't fucking know. But the Artisan, I don't think the Artisan is bad. And I don't think the Weaponsmith is horrible, but I think the Weaponsmith is just way too similar to that 5 cost follower that didn't see play in the Alawi decks. The one where when it drops, it just spawns 3 or spawn 2. But it just spawns on summon. It's a low stat 5 cost. This thing is on curve and it forges an ally, which isn't bad, but I think that people are gonna test this out and then probably just fucking drop it, hopefully for the Forge. Or hell, maybe they don't even run the Forge, and maybe they find some other way to turbo out their their like turbo Forge their shit to 10 power for Orange level up. The Weaponsmith Apprentice, I like her, but she's bad. So no, thank you. Really bad engine. Should have been a 1-2. Kind of brings me back to Squeaker point where it's like you're just an engine, but you're a really low statted engine. Combat Cook, yeah, it's the fan favorite 4 cost card. What can I say? Rot Colossus, dude. Why do we keep getting? Can someone fucking explain to me why we keep getting high cost, in quotes, bombs or finishers that are underwhelming as fuck? Like,
It's bad.
I wanna love him. For fuck's sake, he's an 8/8 overwhelm. But so is the piggy, super angry pig, and he doesn't see fuck nothing of any play outside of, the War Mother's Call deck. Woohoo.
Isn't the pig also 7 mana?
He just might be. Oh my god, and he might just be better. I thought he was 9. But like, come the fuck on. What is up with Riot and dropping 8 cost bombs and them being underwhelming as fuck? Yes, Void Abomination was insane because he's keyword soup, but there are plenty of other end game bombs that they could definitely be tweaking to make very valuable. This is not valuable because he's limited to just being equipped. No one's equipping you with shit, motherfucker, on turn 8. Bellowing Breath, I agree with Snowy, it being a 5 cost champ spell. I can think of worse spells to give Ornn, but I don't know. Maybe if you would have made his thing the Gift of Hearthblood, maybe that would be, I don't know. Maybe I'm wishful thinking.
Worse.
Would it be worse?
Yeah.
Would
Gift of
it really be
Hearthblood
worse?
because it doesn't affect your hand. It seems really bad.
Yeah, but you're buffing your entire board.
Not buffing any of your board with Gift of Hearthblood.
Oh, in your deck. Never mind. Yeah, you're right. It's really fucking bad. But I don't know. It's I'm sure they have their reasons. Now on to Ornn himself, I wanna like him, but he's slow as fuck. His whole mechanic is slow as fuck. Like, I love the idea of just summoning a fucking ram. an ephemeral overwhelm unit, but someone pointed out to me, uh, Trevor Snooze Bottom can do the same fucking thing at 3 mana, but he's pink region. So I would have to go through jumping through the hoops of pink region with an overwhelm region, but it'd be the same exact outcome, just maybe a little bit earlier. I think orange super nice, but as I think it was Bane who called it out earlier on my Nora rant, the meta is too fast right now for someone like Ornn. So like if it's too fast for someone like Nora, then it's definitely too fast for Ornn. Because at 7 mana, like why the fuck would I be playing Ornn when Viego exists? Like, come the fuck on now. There's no reason. So I'm gonna pass it over to Dan, and he can wrap us up with Ornn's package, and then touch up on the cards left.
Sure thing. Yeah, thanks, Ahlkrin. Yeah, I'll say Ornn is underwhelming for me. Seems super slow, not really the play style that I'm into. What can I say about him that I like? I think the ephemeral ram, like you touched on, Ahlkrin, I think it's really cool flavor. It's a perfect representation of his ult. I love that they have the forge equipment, or the forge, sorry, the forge, mechanic, is what I meant to say. I think it all translates really well from his counterpart in League, and I guess going back to before he was revealed, I had the idea of what if he was able to create buffed versions of certain cards, like he can do in League, and give someone like an even stronger Sunfire Escape, for example, or Thornmail or what have you. I'm kind of glad that we got the Forge and the equipment package, because I think having to balance some brand new, like Ornn forged cards, like if that's what you would want to call them, definitely would have been a lot. So I think they really did a good job of translating him. That being said, yeah, I think Snowy hit it right on the head there. I like the what is it, the cook master or the chef master, whatever he's called. Definitely
Depends on
seems yeah, I don't know where I got chef master from. It's been a long
Top
day, I guess.
Chef.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think Combat Cook is great. I mean, I was playing 3 copies in Jax, and that's probably the best thing I could say about this altogether. It seems like you want to take him for Jax. Um, more equipment is cool. I think that these are interesting ones. Demacian Steel is kind of funny. That's kind of like a meme with League, and just Demacian Steel. It is what it is. It's kind of cool to see that as a card. Um, coming out of the reveal for that day, I thought Gift of the Hearthblood was interesting. I don't know what you'd play it with necessarily, but it's an interesting card. I like it because it does a lot, and I think that adds a good level of variety. Um, could you maybe slot it in to like Frelia or Nox's Overwhelm? I don't know. Do you mind just scrolling down a little bit, because I know it's heal 4 and grant all allies, and equipment in your deck 1/1. Yeah, I could see potentially, just for the fun of it, like Darius and Ornn, but that is one slow curve for the champion. So you probably would need to go, if I had to guess, um and maybe do like 2 Annies, 2 Darius, or even 3 Annies and 1 Ornn. I think there's something there. I like his package with the overwhelm. I think it is all really interesting. Just not really, kind of similar to Yi. Just doesn't really stand out to me. Not really something that I'm gonna be super interested in playing. But if we scroll down, I think Tarosh is like a showstopper here. It's super cool. I was able to catch a little bit of a VOD where early access streamer was playing, and he was able to play a Taraj, or maybe his opponent did. I don't recall. But it has a really neat effect on play, and as it attacks. So kudos to the team for that. I think having huge, 10 bomb cards, super interesting. I love the unique effects that we get on some cards. It's always a treat to see that in game. I actually didn't even touch on this, but Master Yi has some really cool effects. Flow has some really cool effects. They did a really good job just overall with visuals. This expansion. It's always cool to make the game a little bit more flashy and a little bit more, a joy to look at as it already is. So yeah, like, we could just scroll up a little bit. I'll see what's lingering up at the top. But yeah, Rock Colossus. I mean, that's garbage. It is. You can't really just do anything with it. Um, unless I don't know. I have no idea what you do with it. And then
I don't mean to cut you off, but I mean, yeah, it's just,
yeah,
I genuinely want to like this card because it's an overwhelm
right.
bomb from Freljord. But it's like, what fucking equipment are you throwing onto this guy? Cause if anyone wants to throw that in the comments, just anything, justify this fucking card, please.
It's also
Yeah,
not an
definitely
exact
interested.
copy either, so it just keeps on resetting.
Yeah,
Correct. Yeah.
exactly.
Uh, I think it'll be interesting to see what Rico Rex does with it. Maybe he'll
Yes.
bang out some crazy, some crazy orange strats. Certainly going to keep an eye out on his page as the honorary community overwhelm enjoyer. And I think we all really like seeing his brews. I know I do.
I do too.
Let's see what do we have here? Utter devastation. I'm sure it's a card that at least art visually wise, Bane is into. It's his actual his profile picture right now, or on Discord. So shout out to that. Yeah, I mean, again, it's just like they kind of just keep adding these really cool high cost bombs. It's exciting to see. It's nothing likely that I'll be able to incorporate into a deck that I enjoy and have fun with, but it's it's kind of crazy. It's a really kind of crazy end game bomb that I can't even wrap my head around in terms of what you do it with. But hey, maybe there's something to be said about, I don't know, Kane Viego. I have no idea. We don't build good decks in this household. We kind of just adapt and work with the shitty things that we build. So someone's gonna have to come up with utter devastation synergy. Not That's not my forte. And then scrolling up, I think we got a couple of other really cool bombs. Yeah, I mean, Zolani is really awesome. I love that. That creates like a nice infinite loop potentially. I use that term loosely, but it's a really nice feedback loop, I should say, where you can constantly be getting another Zolani if the game decides to stall. I think having that in Shurima is kind of silly, but we can have a Shuriman hate episode. I think that's kind of crazy going back to that earlier summoning a dead ally champion from Shrima. I think that's also another crazy card. So Shrima's got some fun toys to play with here, which is always interesting. Um, I'll let Snowy or Ahlkrin jump in. I don't feel particularly charged up about any of these cards. They're not really doing it for me. I don't have much else to add to it, but I will say I want to like Horn, and I hope that Rico can make something that works with him. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, I'll let you guys go off if you have any thoughts about these lasting units or spells. Uh, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I do think heavy metal, new build to water, destroy units, equipment, and deal 2. It's definitely not as good as something like a Mystic Shot, especially because it's slow, but it does seem like it'll be like a good build to water card for if, again, equipment becomes like majorly OP. It might be something that you might play in tournaments, not necessarily on ladder, or it might be overall. It just seems like a good card to have in the game, even if it's not being played. And I'm not, as an Anivia player, I'm not happy that they printed 2 obliterate removal spells this expansion. But this is 7 mana, so I'm not sure if it actually ever gets put in to a Targon deck. But it is showing Kale. That is Kale's spell. So maybe we get Kale soon in a future expansion. Yeah.
That's probably the big thing I wanted to touch up on with you is that um Kale. So I saw a video, and this is where LOR. Now I know LOR lore is supposed to be separate from League's lore, but it all goes up on the Riot website anyway. But so Garen's ult in League of Legends, where he
Yeah,
smites an
it's Kale.
enemy. Yeah, that's Kale's sword.
Kale.
So she is so closely tied to Demacia. But we did touch up on the ending of our first episode when we were doing, champion requests in a random region or whatever, that Targon is like 100%, it is out of champions. Like every Targon champion in League lore is already in Runeterra, which means that if they don't do something about like dragging in and out, like what they did with Malphite, because Malphite actually didn't. Malphite's not a Targon champion. He's actually Ixtal. He also has some ties to Shurima, but that's besides the point. Like
Yeah, but
I'm
Kale will make sense in Targon. She's like think Tarek. Tarek is also originally from Demacia, and
Yeah.
she became an aspect. Kale and Morgana, her sister, their mom was an aspect. So they also have heavy ties to Targon, even if they themselves aren't originally from Targon. Their lore is heavily tied to Targon. So it definitely would make sense to put Kale into Targon. That's what you're asking.
That like it doesn't make sense. But it does kind of blow my mind because of how important Kale is to Demacia, that they would do something like that. However, that then brings the question: are we going to get a dual region Targon Demacia champion? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows?
They might do Targon and Noxus for Morgana, and that'd be interesting.
That would be a very interesting combo for me. I
We
like
can only
that.
hope. But with that, I
Yeah.
think we should wrap it up. Because we are
The only other thing I want to talk about is what Dan already touched up on. I really like the Bloodletter, Dark and Bloodletter's Zolani thing. This is really smooth. I had no idea this was Shurima, but you know what? Why the
Yeah,
fuck
me
not
either.
at this rate?
Yeah.
I completely disagree though with praising utter devastation. I think I'd much rather just play Ruination.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd
I
rather
don't
play
Yeah.
Ruination.
know
It's an
what
easier
like
path.
yeah, exactly. Like okay, if this said obliterate all units except Darken or Allied Equipped, that would be a whole nother fucking ball game. Oh shit. Oh shit. We'd be having a totally different conversation. And at that point I question why it isn't 13 mana. But yeah, no.
Ahlkrin, it will be 13 mana after a single prank, and then you can't play it.
It's also
Right.
cultist though, so you can play it with Kayn if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So
It's a Kayn
Kane
card.
gets a board wipe. I don't know if he needed a board wipe, but he got a board wipe. He
I still don't
counts as a
think he uses
Darkin,
it, though.
doesn't he?
Kayn,
Yeah, Kane.
Frost
Yeah,
does count as a Darkin, but
yeah,
we don't have any Darkin tribal stuff that affects Darkins yet.
that's fine.
Right.
Probably
Yeah.
get that in future expansions though. So that's
But
exciting.
there you go. Kane. I was kind of more so curious because duh, lore. He should be a Darkin, but I mean, this wipes the board of everything but him. So on turn 8, you could just slam this down if you want.
Can, but again, I don't think this is really going to be played in Kayn deck.
It gets right of negation or denied. 100%. This is a bad card, but if face off against something that can't deny it, and you're playing Kane, you can. I don't think you should. I don't think you do in Cultist Tribal. But then again, I don't think Cultist Tribal is a good deck anyway, because we already talked about it. There's only like 2 or 3 cards that are actually worth a damn in that entire set.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. But the podcast is getting a bit long. So Dan, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off?
No, I think we wrapped it up pretty nicely. Yeah. happy with the lasting thoughts that I gave for Ornn and his package. Curious to see what they do with him, but yeah, ultimately I'm really excited for this expansion. Gonna probably play a little bit more tonight, and I hope all of you enjoy the expansion as well. So happy expansion day, and best of luck with your games and deck building.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Goodbye.
Thanks again, and tune in for our next episode, which will be in like who knows how long, 6 years maybe.
Yeah, until then, guys, take care.